Ever feel like you're stuck in midlife, repeating the same mistakes or having the same lousy situations? You're not alone. Today, I'm joined by Connie Osterholt, an expert in subconscious pattern recognition. She'll reveal how reprogram your subconscious mind in a few minutes can break the cycle and set you on a path to success and happiness. With nearly 30 years' experience, Dr. Connie has helped countless individuals transform their lives, and she also is my coach. So stay tuned as we discuss actionable steps to help you overcome these challenges once and for all. This is a game changer you won't want to miss.
We have choices and we know we can pick what's best for us and the situation. But if you make yourself synonymous to the pattern you're running, you're not able to be culturally or politically correct. Put some attention to your changes, because when you put attention to your changes, you will bring them in the present and they will become alive.
I want to dive right in though. Can you explain why so many people find themselves stuck, especially in midlife, with the same patterns, making the same mistakes, maybe stuck in habits or rituals or things that they just can't seem to shake?
We're creatures of habit, right? And that's where the subconscious mind comes in. And what people do not know is that you live in your subconscious mind. Your subconscious mind is driving you like 95% of the time. We need shortcuts because there's so much sensory input coming in, even when we're sitting here, that your brain simply cannot handle it. So you generalize, you delete, you put it all on a big heap. So your subconscious mind is a big help. You don't have to worry about your heart beating. You don't have to worry about your body functioning and breathing and all of that. But what most people do not know is that we store everything without judgment, everything you have experienced, and of course the things that were like emotionally intense or repetitive are having a firm hold in your subconscious mind. So when something looks like something is the same, your subconscious kicks in, no judgment, the pattern is immediately appearing, and you will react like the 2-year-old self or the 16-year-old self or your younger self, with a reaction that might have been appropriate at the time or not, but might have been, but definitely is not appropriate at this day and age, this stage of your life. So we're literally creatures of habit. The habits kick in. There's no time to intervene if you're not aware of it. And it just runs its course. So we keep on doing the same stuff. It serves us to an extent, but it doesn't serve us in the bigger picture.
Oh my gosh, I can see that because I know we all can probably relate right now. And I would highly recommend everyone gets pen and paper out. Definitely hit the subscribe button, share this with friends, because this is going to be chock full of great content today. And really, you're going to resonate with so much of what Connie's saying. Because one thing that hits me when you're talking about this is, especially today, as we silence or we sort and we try to, our subconscious can handle these things so we don't have to think things through. We categorize, we box things, we put things in aside, and we just focus on what's in front of us, perhaps. How do things like social media and all of this interaction that we have now, it's so different than it was even, say, 5-10 years ago, where we have so much demanding of our attention. How do we manage with this now, with these things that we're stuck in subconscious things? How do we deal with that?
And a lot of people have, how would I say that? FOMO, fear of missing out. That's why social media is in a way so great, right? You get updated and you get the latest and you hear from people that you've never heard from. So it has a very good function. I love it, but not if it's living your life. And what a lot of people do not do is sit down and prioritize what's most important to you. So what's most important? I mean, your phone, it's so handy, right? Any moment that you're not busy, you go on the phone and you check your phone, what's going on. There are so many means of checking things that sometimes you have to ask yourself, why am I doing this? Is there a purpose behind it? Am I filling the time? Am I escaping reality? Why am I on social media? What is my purpose? Why am I checking out things on social media? So it takes up a lot, it can take up a lot of time. So really, in order, and that's a little bit my thing, and especially in our age group, right? To live in awareness and to live being present to your life, you have to start questioning yourself and going, I have a limited amount of time, 24 hours a day, that's it. What am I going to do in those 24 hours that is on purpose for me and that gives my life fulfillment and happiness? Because life goes up and down. Everybody knows that. Everybody's reached this age group. Not always easy, But if you can manage a life that is peaceful happiness for most of the time, 80-20% rule, then you have to be very selective in where you spend your energy, where you spend your time.
Thank you. That's so well said. And it's because it's something I've seen myself do. And I think all of us can say we've done it is we just go unconscious almost, and hours can go by with the phone and we're doing things. And I was thinking, like, if I ever had house arrest and I was stuck, as long as I had Wi-Fi or internet in my phone and a plug to charge my battery, the phone, I could probably keep myself busy all day long. And that's
Absolutely.
the scary part, but we just go so unconscious of just the
Absolutely.
things that we can do. And then it's this, like we say, it's one of the most addictive things is to reach for the phone. And I'm guilty of that. But it's really changed my life since I've said times of the day when I'm going to look at something and not just grab it every 5 minutes, because literally I can take up an entire day if I'm looking for a notification and answering one message at a time. But if I go for 5 hours and I'm away from it and I go back, funny thing is I can do all that in probably 10, 15 minutes.
Yeah,
It's
absolutely, because
so
you're on purpose.
yes,
Yeah.
instead of just, oh, I better check again and stop what I'm doing and check again. Oh, I better stop and check again. And just let me swipe down and see if somebody texted me or if there's some response to what I
Right.
wrote. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's really good. Thank you for that part. I want to go back to the part about subconscious and identifying. I'd like to know, how can someone start to identify and understand subconscious patterns and beliefs that they might have? I hope you're enjoying today's episode. And if you are, consider subscribing. 93% of you that listen to this podcast regularly have not yet subscribed. If you like this channel, can you do me a quick favor and hit the subscribe button? The bigger the channel gets, the bigger the guests get. Thank you.
It's usually a good start to take a look at your life and to see where you're not happy, you're not fulfilled, where you're irritated, where you're frustrated, maybe inside angry about. Those are the patterns that are definitely not working. So start, and I know I'm not a big journaler, but it's good to start writing it down and to see if there's a common denominator. And often the question you can ask, is this my pattern? Is this something I picked up? Is this something from my past? And I'm not dwelling on the past, but sometimes you get really good insights from what you have been doing. And they say we're both influenced by Tony Robbins, and Tony Robbins picks up a lot of things from different people and present it to us in a really neat package. But he says also that what might have been a success formula in the past doesn't mean that it's a success formula for now. So if you blindly keep on doing what you have been doing because it was great in the past, time's changing so fast, economy is changing, people changing, business changing, your success formula might not be updated enough. So take a look at what you're doing consistently in life and ask yourself, is it still relevant to this day?
Is it still relevant? Because again, I think that we go so on autopilot, as you said in the beginning.
Yeah.
And that would be my next question: is how does the subconscious mind influence our daily decisions and actions without us even realizing it? How does it impact that you've noticed in examples?
It impacts you hugely. You really live through your subconscious mind. You do. And when you hear that, you go, no, we all want to have a sort of a sense of control and influence, right? At least in where life is taking you, or for your family, or for your business. But then when you realize you're repetitive in how you react to experiences, to things, to people, then it's stop right here. What am I doing? Why am I taking this decision? Why am I reacting to this in a certain way? Is this really, on a scale from 0 to 10, the best I can do? Or can I upgrade myself? So there is a moment of reflection, and some do it in meditation, some do it in journaling, some do it in thinking time, where you have to go, stop, what am I doing? And what I'm doing, is that the best possible reaction, solution, action I can take in this moment? Or are there other choices out there that possibly give me a faster or a better outcome? So it's tough to take a look at yourself, because we all like to live in the illusion that we're great, right? And we're doing awesome. And part of you really is. But when you start looking at, that reaction didn't give me the result I wanted, didn't give me the outcome I wanted. So I need to improve on that. In relationships, we react. We don't react to the present, we react to the past and drag that into the present. it's detrimental. And your subconscious mind has a one-track mind. It's just going instead of going, oh, I could do this, or I could do something else, or have a different choice. And I picked the choice that is best for the situation, best for me, best for everybody involved. We do not do that. We just go.
That's right. A lot of us do. And I think this is the key, is just starting to understand that the subconscious is not necessarily who we are. It's not who we are as a being, perhaps. Do you agree? It's just these programs. It's like putting in software, and it was inserted at different stages in our lives. And then they became programs that run subconsciously, without knowing, and we don't realize. And what you said about in relationships, Matthew Hussey said this in an interview I watched a couple years ago that I loved so much, is he was talking, I think it was with Tom Bailot, and they were saying about arguments with their partner. And they said, whenever you have a reaction, and Matthew Hussey said, whenever you have a reaction or an argument, it is never about what you're arguing about at that time. Never, 100% of the time, is it never about what you're arguing about. It's always about something else from the past. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely, absolutely. And not everybody wants to realize that or hear that. We're very sensitive. We're sensitive beings, right? So we also protect ourselves, and we don't want to get hurt. We don't want to be sad. We don't want to experience negative emotions if we can avoid it. So it's the past is creeping up on us, and our protection mechanism, and you have your pattern, right? That kicks in. And then the protection mechanism kicks in. And before, you're not honest to yourself, and you're not able to have an open and vulnerable communication with your partner, even in business. And the word vulnerable is a trigger for many people. It was a trigger for me for a long time. I didn't want to be vulnerable. It can be used against you, right? But without vulnerability in measured doses, there is never an open and honest communication about the different choices that you could utilize. Because your subconscious mind doesn't give you a choice. There's just one way of reacting, one way of communicating. And we know better than that. We have choices, and we know we can pick what's best for us and the situation.
And I think we can identify that, is that when we see it, I think their clues are, again, is when relationship is, if we keep having the same situation happen over and over again, if we keep seeing patterns where everyone, and not everyone, but a lot of people in our lives are saying, this is something you tend to do. And then, of course, we protect ourselves, and we maybe start with that stage.
And we go like, no.
Like what talks about, we get defensive. Yeah. We don't take responsibility. We blame others. And then there's that next level where it's like when you start to really notice it, and you realize it's not necessarily you, it's a program that you've had. And if you can take that and not feel shame about it, I think that's a good word, and then just look at it and say, gosh, what is this that everyone keeps saying? Not everyone, but people, I hate to use the word everyone, but is that people keep saying this about me. And then it's okay, so what's going on here? Where is this program? And if we can look at it as if we're in a lab, I always like to say we're scientists. We're taking the emotion out of it. We're just analyzing and assessing. We're dissecting what's going on. And as Byron Katie talks about, we do that. What you were saying is go into inquiry. We ask questions of ourselves. We'll say, is it true? All these different things is, what are we thinking about it? And we can just observe and step aside and watch and see what it is. And so is that, people always tell me I'm late. I'm late all the time. Is that true? I don't know. I guess I am always late. Yeah, but they always seem to they never show up on time either. So, I don't bother trying to be on time or whatever it could be. I'm giving a crazy example, but it's when we can take a moment and not let the shame go, be vulnerable, be willing to listen and say, is this something I can change? Because really what that does is, as you said earlier, is when we find those places where we're feeling unhappy or unfulfilled, is what would you rather have? The unhappiness of feeling unfulfilled or unhappy, or would you rather feel ashamed and figure out a way to fix it so you can go back to feeling happy and fulfilled?
And you said it brilliantly, Jill. In there, it is such a gem. It's not you. It's the pattern you're running. But if you make yourself synonymous to the pattern you're running, you feel like it's you, and you're a bad girl or a bad boy or whatnot, right? You're not able to cope, or you're not able to be culturally correct or politically correct. But if you see that's a pattern I'm running, and that pattern that is maybe from far back in my past, when I was in a different stage of life, then you don't have to blame yourself. You just have to take responsibility for what you're doing and see what other choices you do have. There's so many different choices. So once you get to that point, it's no problem to look at what you're doing, the patterns you're running. And then you're also able to put it on the table and say, that might not be the best choice right now anymore. What other choices I have?
I love that so much. Yeah, because there is a lot of freedom in that, and
Yeah.
I see that when I notice that. Where I always say it's like I'm instead of being in the director's chair where I'm watching it, is I forget sometimes, and I think I'm actually on the stage and I'm acting. And it's wait a minute, you're not the actor here. You are just observing
Yeah.
the movement, the emotions, the thoughts, the body
Yeah.
movement,
Yeah.
and it's oh that's right, I forgot. Okay, that's not who. Okay, let me get back to the just watching what's happening, and that's when it takes when you can really fine tune and craft and see and modify what it is you want to be and how you want to change. And that leads me to my next question is what are some practical steps that we can take to begin reprogramming our subconscious minds for
Right.
positive change?
Be aware, be present to what you're doing. And we cannot be 100% present, but start with being 10% present, right? In the morning, focus on what your day might be like. In the evening, go for just a couple of minutes, go, what happened? What was really great today? What was not so great today? How can I improve on that? And it doesn't have to take a long time, but be present to what is happening in that day, the multiple interactions you have with multiple people or even with yourself, and go, did that work for me? Did that make me happy? Did that bring me the success that I wanted to have? So take some time to focus on how you want your day to pan out, not only schedule wise, but like emotionally, mentally, how do you want your day to be? And at the end of the day, go, how did it work out? How did I score myself? So be honest, at least to yourself.
Oof,
And sometimes the patterns are so deeply ingrained. That's why we repeat them over and over again. It helps when you talk to somebody. It
yeah.
helps to be with somebody that is not emotionally involved in your life. And that can show you, hey, you're a great person, and these are the patterns you're running. And you might want to take a look if you want to keep it or not. So that's what a big part of my job is, to show people what's going on and then present them with choices. So don't hesitate. I have 4 coaches myself. I
Yes.
have my blind spots as well, and they are really wonderful in helping me see where I can have different choices.
That's great. And I'm going to put the show notes for everyone. In the show notes, you'll have you'll see the links for Connie to reach out and reach out to her about coaching if something you're interested in. And I know you have lots of different things that you offer, but we'll definitely put all that in there. Would you like to explain a little bit about what you do and what you offer while we're doing that?
Yeah, it's basically, I work with businesses and I work with individuals, and I always have been a curious person, and I always have been interested in the psychology of things, right? And then also take the holistic approach, the mind, body, and spirit, because they each have different sections. And I'm just showing people where they can, the simple, and I don't like it, but I'm saying it anyway, the simple version of me doing what I'm doing is I make people more happy and more fulfilled. So we get the things that are obstacles for you. Sometimes they're small, sometimes they're big. We put them on the table and we see how we can turn them around. So it's all in the pattern you're running from your subconscious mind. When you become aware of it, you can put different choices in there. And when you put different choices in your subconscious mind, they always choose what's best for you. But when there's one choice, there's no choice. So it's offering of different choices for interactions and experiences, whether that's in business or individual. It really doesn't matter. The patterns are the same, but to show you what's going on. And if you're happy with the way it pans out, if not, let's change it up.
That's great. That's great. I love that. And I love the way you talked about it's how important having more than one coach or having even a coach it's different than a psychologist, a therapist, because it's really about looking from here on forward and it's developing a daily plan. It's really seeing the present. And that's why I'm so big on coaches. And you've helped me so much. It's just breaking through what's going on right this moment and how can we break this free of this.
Yeah.
And it's really awesome. So you're fantastic. I
Thank
really
you.
love
Yeah.
having you
Thank
coach.
you.
So let me ask you this. A lot of people you hear about recommending visualization or affirmations to rewire our subconscious minds. What are your thoughts about that?
You have to know yourself first, because I'm not a big visualizer. That's not my thing. That's not my go-to. I can get there with certain steps, but I'm not sitting down, boom, I visualize. No, I feel, I hear. So first know where you go to, because visualization in people's book is big. But if you're not the person that goes there, automatically you struggle with that. And you go, what's wrong with me? I cannot do that. That's the pattern that kicks in, at least with me all the time. But I have to allow myself to feel through things. So I'm a feeler, not like a visualizer. And sometimes the hearing, the affirmation, because it's a combination of hearing and feeling, that really works for me. So patterns have been established over time. When there's a big emotional impact, it sticks, right? But when you experience it over and over again, it's so deep, like the Grand Canyon, it's in there, you will always follow that pattern. So the trick is to interrupt that pattern. There's certain like exercises we can do to interrupt that pattern, or just simply say to yourself, stop, I'm not going to do this anymore. Stop. No, I'm inserting a new pattern. You can do that with yourself, but you have to be very diligent and consistent. So the visualization, then it works for you, helps. Visualize how you would want it to be. Visualize the result you want to have in every area of life, with health, with business, with money, with relationships, right? Visualize that. Paint a picture in your mind. And for other people, it's like sitting and feeling how you want to feel about this result, how you want to feel in this relationship, hearing the affirmations, and to say things over and over, to present choices to your subconscious pattern.
Say that one more time. That was really good.
So when you are doing the affirmations over and over again, you present new choices to your subconscious pattern. So I have been speaking a lot in my life. I have been really had like amazing opportunities to be on big stages. And at some point, I wanted to be more fun. I didn't, at that point in my life, I didn't consider myself to be a fun person, right? So I was not having that fun on stage. I was not presenting that fun. So my affirmation is, I am fun. I'm very much fun. I bring fun everywhere where I go. I did that diligently every day, over and over again, just for 10 minutes. Then slowly that fun personality that was buried very deep came out. And I was be able to have fun and to joke and laugh and to establish that in my life. My belief is, Jill, that we have everything we need. But through our experiences, stuff is buried very deeply, and you do not have access to it. With visualizations, with affirmations, you free up the way to get access to those parts you haven't been utilizing yet.
Okay. I love that. That's so cool. Yeah. It's the affirmations. I'm the same. I struggle with visualization, or at least consistently. I think it's that more analytical brain that I have. It's something about that, and feelings. I'm better. I like the feeling of feelings. Like, how do I want to feel? So I'm with you on that, but I like that it's just you just have to identify which
works for you,
how you're wired and what works better for you. And then also don't blame yourself or say, oh, everybody's visualizing. That's the thing. And I can't visualize, or it doesn't work for me. And you just said, it doesn't mean that you're bad or there's something wrong with you. It's that not everybody is wired that way.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So when I coach too, I say some people love it's like meditation. And I had a client who's like, I've loved to journal, and it's great. And it's a way for her to sit quietly. And so it's meditation's always awesome too. And the journaling thing, I'm not a big journaler either. So it's interesting how that we just find our ways. For me, it's sitting quiet and having just like a nothing space and meditating to some extent.
And it's amazing advice. Find what works for you. I remember that I was taught meditation, I think 40 years ago, by Deepak Chopra. He came to my country, the Netherlands, a lot in those days. And his form of meditation was sitting in a dark room, staring at a candle and just repeating the mantra he gave us. And it didn't work for me. It did not work for me. I had to giggle. I got restless when I didn't seem to get over that hump. And I spoke to the assistants there, and I said, my meditation is when I'm in nature, or even when I'm running, or when I'm doing something. And they were going, no, that's not meditation, right? So they had their own form, and everybody had to fit in that form. And I can see why that is, and I can see why people want that, but you really have to find what works for you. I do a feminine dance exercise every Saturday. That's my meditation. I go so inward. I go so connect through who I am at my core. I work through things. So my meditation always has been through moving. And then I access that place of stillness, that place of just being. It sounds weird, right? Because I have to move to be still, but it's the
I'm the same.
stillness inside.
Yeah.
So find out what works for you. There's so much out there. So you'll find what works for you.
That is so liberating to hear you say that. With all of your years of working with so many people, to hear someone of your caliber and expertise to say that, because I think sometimes we hear, again, there's that FOMO again, as everyone's doing this, so we all should be doing this or whatever, and then to just accept and see where you're connecting and where you're really feeling the
Yeah.
presence.
Yeah.
I love that so much. Thank you for that. That was beautiful. I think sometimes too is I'm always thinking about people who are dealing with fear and self-doubt. How can reprogramming our subconscious mind, can it help us with that?
Yeah, and it's like we all have different like personalities and different behavioral types, but I think across board, we're always afraid that we're not enough. And we're always afraid that we therefore are not loved, right? That's a very deep-seated across board with everybody. Those are the two deepest fears we have. And it's not enough to say to yourself, yeah, I'm good enough, I'm more than good enough, I'm loved, I'm loved. That doesn't really take it away. But it's also, what if you're not good enough? What can you do about it? Go study, go practice, make sure you learn, make sure you change, right? And say to yourself, I might have had those thoughts that I'm not good enough, but I'm taking action on it and I'm becoming pretty darn good at things, right? You can play with that. And then not feeling love, that is maybe a more tricky one because nowadays people say you have to love yourself, right? And self-love, that's the way to get there. I agree, but how do you do that? How the freak do you do that to love yourself? So you have to take a couple of steps. Take care of yourself. In the end of the day, it's wonderful when somebody else does, but that should be the cherry on the cake. But take care of yourself. Do the things that are good for you. Dance, a massage here and there, nature, relax. Do nothing if you want that. After intense travel, I do a day of nothing. I love it. And I had to learn to do that. So self-care. Be kind to yourself.
Mm.
Most of us are very kind and caring towards other people. And the compassion a lot of us share, but we're not like utilizing that compassion and the kindness and the caring for yourself. So start being kind to yourself. If you don't want to do something, you can do some analysis if it's a repetitive pattern. But if it's a day where you don't want to do anything, don't do anything. Be kind. You're not a machine. You don't have to be on all the time. You don't have to make your move and work through things. No, sometimes it's great to sit through it, to feel through it. So start with caring for yourself and be kind to yourself, just like you're kind to your best friend. And
Mm.
then that leads to really feeling that you take care of you. That makes you feel better. That makes you feel you matter. You make a difference. That makes you feel and access that love. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it
So
sure
it's not
does.
enough to just say, love yourself more. And I go, okay, how do I do that?
I remember that question when I first started hearing that too. And I'm like, well, what does that mean? Do I get a massage? And what am
Yeah,
I supposed to do?
yeah,
And when you say the thing, I know something I've struggled with in the past is on that journey of finding self-love, which I think we're always on that journey. It never ends,
yeah,
but it's taking that time, as you said, and that because we always take time for others or treat others better than we do ourselves. But it's that I've learned to say to myself, if I'm going to sit, like the day I got back this morning, as I told you earlier, at 4:30 in the morning from Buenos Aires, and I'm just unpacked and did all the stuff, and we had this scheduled. And so I'm like, okay, I'll take a day or I'll take some time to just not do anything. And my old pattern was, what are you doing sitting there? You're not supposed to be sitting there. You know, you have a
you
million
lazy
things.
girl, right? Yeah,
And that it's so interesting. And
yeah,
that's a pattern. I think that's a great example. I was going to ask you for an example of someone you worked with, but I think that's a really good example. Is like when we get in that space, as we allow ourselves that time, is what are the voices in our head telling us? What is it that you're hearing that's going, who do you, when I'm trying to, I always say this now, I've talked about this in my interviews, but it's like when I'm talking about getting new guests, I want to invite someone who's really Mel Robbins or something. And they're like, and the voice goes, who do you think you are, Jill Collins? You only have 1,000 subscribers. She's not going to even give you the time of day. All of
yeah,
this. And so I noticed that, but like sitting in the chair, taking the day off, those are the voices that show up. It's if you're going to give, you have to literally give yourself permission. And so I have a conversation with myself and I say, okay, Jill, we're going to do something really fun. Do you want to have some fun today? We're going to treat ourselves. We're going to go sit down and we're going to enjoy some sun and we're going to make a really nice dinner and we're just going to sit and we're going to watch some movies. How does that sound? Yeah. Okay, great. All right. And then it's no guilt because I've invited myself to have a day.
Yeah.
This like permission. It's like you put it on the calendar. My friends used to always laugh at me when I put like things like shower on my calendar. It's because it literally says this is what I don't do that anymore, but I did for a while early in the Tony Robbins days. Is that just like saying this is designated time for me? And where I get stuck is sometimes I'm like, if I'm literally just sitting on my phone playing a game or something, or I'm looking at nothing or whatever, is I can't enjoy it because I'm hearing a voice going, you should be getting up by now, because it didn't designate time. I just did it like, oh, I have a few minutes before something. Let me just sit down. I have a little bit of time. And then 2 hours go by because it didn't set, okay, by 6, I should get up and go do something.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or by tomorrow or whatever it is. And then there's this, when is it not enough? Or when is it enough? And then it's at some point, the voice starts getting louder and it says, okay, you should be doing more. And I think that applies in work as well. In our work, what time do we, especially for those who are self-employed, who work at home, what time do you clock out?
Yeah.
What time do you go home from work to be with your family? When is it enough for you? And when do you feel like you're satisfied? And I know you deal with that with corporations and people in business as well.
Yeah.
How do you structure that?
Turning it upside down, right? And before I go into that, it's like the voices you hear with the negative talk, they're usually not your own voice. They're usually voices from parents or teachers or peer group that pass judgment on you, or you take it as judgment. And that is, they try to talk you into doing stuff. So examine if it's your voice or it's the voice of somebody else. If it's the voice of somebody else, give it back to them. It doesn't belong to you. Okay. So back to how do you deal with that? How you deal, it's turning it upside down. It's not the amount of work you need to provide. That would be silly, but it's looking at, if I set myself a goal, what do I need to do that? What do I need to do in order to succeed in that goal? That comes with action item, that comes with a certain amount of work, but it's not the open-ended, I have to work hard all day, every day. It's for this to be happening. And with this project, you have your action item lines up. Each action item has an approximate time. You can go like, check, I'm done. So the new trend, my sons are in their early 30s and it's a total different generation. And they have the freedom, at least my sons have, to choose to work at home, to choose to work at the office. Their bosses don't care if they clock in at 8 and clock out at 5. They say, I don't care about that. Of course, you have to have decorum, you have to show up sometime. But what I do care about is that you finish your project, you finish your tasks in the time frame we agreed on. How you do that, I don't care. If you want to work at night, go for it. But my prerogative is to make sure that you do what you promised to do in the time frame we both set together. So it's totally different. I'm from a generation is like, you get up, you work, you come home from work, you eat, you prepare for the next day, and you go sleep, right? That was what people did or at least my parents installed in me.
Oh, yeah.
It's silly. Sometimes it takes longer, sometimes it takes less time, but you need to work with an eye on what you want to achieve and then have that time frame.
Okay. For overachievers who are saying, okay, I have this goal. I think I'm going to go back because what's hitting me is this goal. What do I need to do to achieve the goal? And so I have the tasks and then I get the task done. So I achieve the goal. But again, going back to that, so many distractions is how can we maximize and optimize our time that we are feeling satisfied with what we're doing. And it's not just that we're on the hamster wheel, checking off items off the to-do list to meet the goal, where it's satisfying, it's enjoyable.
I had few clients, where my advice was take the day off, go sit and watch a movie. And then, like your expression, they were going, what? I hire you and you give me the advice of take the day off and watch a great movie. They were going, oh, I think there needs to be a balance, whatever your balance is. Balance is different for everybody, right? Balance is never if it's 50-50. It is not. But there needs to be a balance. If you are procrastinating or if you are having a hard time concentrating or focusing on what you need to do, your mind, your body is saying there's no balance.
Oh,
Pushing through to a certain extent, I agree with, but then you have to catch up on that balance later on. I learned that in the days where we were working 16, 18 hours a day. Crazy. It was okay, I can do that right now. But then when that time frame is over, I catch up and balance myself out again. So when you're, again, procrastinating, you're taking longer, you're going like, oh, I really don't want to do that. You're out of balance with the areas that you as a high achiever may not have looked at. And that is take time out, go into nature, go work out, go spend some time with your kids, go spend some time with your family, read a book, do nothing. If that is not there in your weekly schedule, then your body will act up.
Again, and I think I'm thinking this so personally right now is the body will act up. And I've done a lot of the procrastinating. It seems like in the past month or two, I've had it's been cold in Argentina and just didn't feel like doing a lot. And so I find myself just sitting and like doing nothing, like binge watching something. And I'm like, gosh, Jill, what's happening? This isn't you. And that's different to me than, again, going to that backing and saying permission to, or allowing myself or giving myself the gift, however I want to word it, of take the day off.
Yeah.
Versus it's like not robbing Peter to pay Paul, but or stealing that time is 2:00. If we're going to finish the interview, okay, I'm going to do some editing or do something. I'm just going to go sit here for just a minute, take a break. And then it's 4:00 and I haven't done that yet. And then I feel terrible.
Yeah.
So it's you've got to, there's just to see the difference. That's what I want people to see. At least that's what I felt is that, yeah, I've taken a lot of time. So for me to say, take time off or take a day off, I've been doing a lot of that this month. So it's, even though I'm working a lot, but I can do things really fast.
But it was not directed. It was not focused.
It's
the pendulum swing, right? It's like work on this side and now I'm doing nothing on the other side. It's not balanced.
Got it. Not directed.
So the pendulum swing has to go back and forth, not getting stuck in either or. And when you designate that time off, take time off if golf is your thing or sailing is your thing or whatever, reading is your thing, designate a time to get back in balance. Then it just becomes part of your schedule. So if there's too much hard work, you will have too much of like binge watching or escaping.
Oh, man. Okay. I don't know if anybody else got anything out of that, but I sure did. So I'm happy. It was great. I just needed that reminder. Dang, that's good. Wow, that's really good. As we're reprogramming or to making changes and asking, going into inquiry, finding out about our patterns and what's happening on the subconscious mind, how can we assure that the changes that we make, are they lasting, and how to make sure they're not just temporary? Would they come
lasting back? Is, and you have to decide, right? Sometimes temporary is okay. It requires the situation or whatnot. Temporary is okay. And it reminds me of the story of this too shall pass, right? You remember that, who was it? Solomon, I think King Solomon asked a jeweler to make him a piece of jewelry that both expressed both sides, the joy and the sadness. And he got a ring, and in the ring it said, this too shall pass. If you have a beautiful time in your life, this too shall pass. If you have a very sad period in your time, in your life, this too shall pass. So it's like life provides you with that balance as well. And you just make sure that you find your balance. I cannot say what your balance is. I never can. Like the example of working excessively, like 16, 18 hours a day. It was great. I loved it. I loved doing it. I knew that I have to catch up on the balance. So that's a balance not many people experience, to have 5 to 10 to 14 days working really hard, but I'm sure catching up on the balance. Most people are going, I can work hard for a time, catch up on the balance. Other people go, every day I need to have a little bit of that balance. When I work for 4 hours, I need to have an hour to do nothing or whatever you choose to do, to go for a walk or to call a friend or whatnot. So it's a very personal thing. And it's also personal in the season of your life you're in. And we're
Mhm.
running simultaneously through different seasons in different areas in your life. So balance need to be appropriate to the season of that particular category in your life as well.
Okay. So definitely for midlife women, we're always changing. New things are happening. Kids are going off to college. Maybe we've experienced a divorce, a loss of a partner, job change, all these different things. And so, yes, I love that. That's really point depending on the season in our
Yeah.
life. Something occurs to me, and I maybe it's my own intuitive feeling of the past, and is that sometimes when I get too rigid, like I remember when I first started doing Tony Robbins work, and then we were looking at RPM, the way to plan and management and all that. And it was like I was saying, when I had the shower on my calendar and all these different things, and I was so structured and I was getting a lot done. And I was really feeling, oh, okay, this is good. But at some point, when I got so structured, there was this inner rebel, as I call it, in me that just said, you can't make me do that. I don't have to do that. Now, that's a pattern, right? So as we say, okay, I'm going to tell you, you can sit for 2 hours and do nothing, or sit and read a book, and it's 2 hours goes by, and you can't make me get up now. There's something. There's this resistance, there's this pull. What is that's a program?
Yes, resistance, definitely. It needs investigation. Where's that resistance coming from? If your thought is like, you can't make me, I'm sure that you had a lot of experiences where people made you do things,
Oh, yeah.
right? And especially when you're younger, you don't have much of a choice when you're a little kid, right? They make you do stuff. So you don't like that. So be the boss yourself and be on top of that schedule and go, okay, what serves me?
So to reframe, it's actually because way back, this was early stuff I was working on with Tony several years ago, is this rebelling against myself. But then I was realizing, like you said, is that it felt like I was me telling me that I couldn't, that I was resisting
Then
but I
ask,
didn't, because I didn't see the separation at the time. I
yeah,
just
what do
that
you really
I
want?
thought my thoughts and
Yeah,
my subconscious were all me. And I went,
yeah,
and now when it happens, like what Michael Beckwith and you say too, it's like looking at it going, wow, isn't that funny? I just did that. That's hilarious that I just had that reaction. Huh.
yeah,
I
yeah,
used to do that all the time. That's funny. Oh my gosh,
yeah,
look at how I just sat there for 2 hours and just stared out the window. Oh, that's
yeah,
funny. I didn't even, that's funny pattern.
yeah.
Instead of, oh man, I shouldn't have done that. Oh, I can't believe I just sat there. You know what? I blew, this is my former favorite one that I used to say to myself is, you already blew half the day already anyway. So what are you going to do now? You can't make up for it.
Yeah,
Right. So that's like, may as well
exactly.
mess up the rest of the day. So, and I think we do that in a lot of things. I think we say is how we do one thing in one area of life is how we do all things. And a lot of people spend money that way. They just go, I've already spent too much. I already maxed out my credit card. So I may as well just, I can't possibly catch up now. Or I
You're right.
can't, here I blew another relationship. And so it's that too late, that there's no point, and which happens a lot in midlife, because I think we've seen a lot. We're very wise. We've gone through a lot of experiences, and we have lots of patterns that we can, virtually every single situation, we can think of it and go, that person reminds me of somebody, or I've been in this situation before. I know how that person's going to react, or I know what's going to happen. And tell me about that. When we start to do that in midlife is how we say, oh, I know this is exactly how this guy's going to, I know who this guy is. He's going to be like this. I know this is going to happen this way. How does that limit us when we do that? Or is that the right thing to do?
So there's two things, right? We come in a package with all the good, the bad, and the ugly. And it's acceptance that you're not perfect. You never will be perfect. There will be stuff that you're not doing accurately or you're not doing timely. So what? If you look at one day of your life, yep, you didn't do the right thing. If you look at 10 years of your life, it really doesn't matter. If you do it today or you do it the next day, just catch up, know what you're doing. Hey, I'm rebellious today. I don't want to do anything. I'm like, I switch off. Fine. Doesn't matter on a 10-year frame. So be gentle, be kind to yourself. We've become wise. Absolutely. We've collected a lot of experience. We learned judgment, and judgment is a good thing. You have to be the judge in your life, otherwise you couldn't drive a car. For instance, you have to be able to judge. When you judge other people, when you're not living in awareness, and we're all guilty of it, me too. You judge them based on past experiences. You judge them based on your weaknesses or not your strong points. So to be aware of where that judgment is coming from will help you to see if that judgment is right or if that judgment comes from a different corner that makes you judge that person without knowing that person. I'm
Yeah.
all for judgment, but you need to know where it's coming from.
Yeah, because I know dating in midlife and being in that space and having friends who are single also is the comments that we hear is just, it's, oh, I know how this guy, I've seen guys like this before. I know that this guy is going to be a player, or this guy, oh, he's not serious, or this one, oh, or did you know he said this? Whenever a guy, oh, I love these. If a guy says this, he's going to be like that. And it's really,
maybe.
so that's where that Byron Katie, that like you're saying the two is that asking a question is like going in an inquiry. Is that true?
Yeah.
What, gosh, I always thought that. Is that true?
Yeah.
Or is that just something I'm running on autopilot and I just always assume that's what happens?
Yeah. And there's a fine line between being gullible and being wise.
Ooh, I like that.
Because not everybody is a good person. They're not. They might be a good person deep down in their soul, but their actions and how they live life, their values might be so vastly different from yours. That's not your person. So it's good to check out what would be a person that fits into your life on the big things, and so that is a good judgment. That takes time. We women are big on needing to trust in order to fully enjoy and explore a relationship. How do you build up trust? We're not at an age where we go, I trust everybody. Everybody is so wonderful. Everybody is so kind to me. They're so attracted to me. No, that's silly. But how do you build up trust? I bet not many people ask themselves that question. What do you need to see? What do you need to hear? What do you need to experience? It needs open and honest communication. And I, for one, struggled with that in relationships because I didn't want to be vulnerable. And at the same time, I wasn't courageous enough. And I didn't set boundaries very firmly. No, I set the boundaries, but I didn't follow up on it. So that's not setting them, right? I didn't reinforce them. So it's like knowing what those boundaries are, knowing that you can have those open communications, knowing that your vulnerability is your power, and just explore and talk and communicate. If you find a partner or a date that doesn't want to talk about the important things in life, might not be your person if that's what you want to do. So that's a boundary. And then you can easily say, thank you for the nice evening. I think it's more a friendship vibe, or we're not really a fit. I'm looking for something else. So it starts with you being open and honest enough towards yourself to know what's important to you, and then having the courage to be vulnerable and put it on the table and go, I'm looking for this. And then see what the reaction is, and knowing that words are cheap and actions will confirm if the words are true or not. So that takes a little bit of time. But know what you want, know what you don't want, but don't get stuck in what you don't want, or assume that when one guy says this, all other guys will say that. They're not cookie cutter. They're different. So use your wisdom, but use your wisdom to move you forward. In getting stuck in what I see a lot around me is people give up. They don't want to go for finding a relationship because all men suck, or they're all whatever, they're all players, or they all want like young women or whatnot, right? So it's like stereotyping relationships, stereotyping men and women. That usually doesn't serve you.
I was about to say is I think that's what I had a matchmaking service several years ago in Argentina, and my clients, the things I noticed the most is how much it was like sabotaging. It was it's almost like looking for a reason not to go out on a date versus
Absolutely.
versus what I know they always say to have your deal breakers. And then when you're looking and say, okay, this person is this or whatever. But we have the big term now is red flags, and everybody talks about red flags. And it's that I think we can make anything a red flag if we want to.
Totally.
And so if I always say, whenever I'm looking, if I'm not in the right state of mind, if I don't feel like I'm in abundance and my esteem, I don't feel like fully in my divine, in my wonderful, like beautiful space of who I am, and I'm out there, I am just going to see everything wrong. Yeah. And I'm going to be more open to picking people that I know are not right. versus someone that I go, oh, and we become more selective. We have those boundaries. We stay in that high peak state, those kinds of things. And I think it's just what happens though, is that we get this so jaded that we just are almost to protect ourselves because we have these programs that we say,
Yeah.
you know what, I've tried that thing. I've tried those dating apps. People have set me up. Nothing works. You know what? It's just, there are no guys out there. There's
Waste
just,
of
I'm
time.
too old.
Yeah,
And everything you said. And so that is a protection mechanism for getting hurt.
absolutely.
And I
But
think,
also,
the truth is that if you can actually say, is that true? And start
yeah,
questioning,
yeah,
do you really want a
exactly.
happiness and fulfillment, or would you rather be right? They would say, would you rather be right or be loved? And I think that's one of those
Yeah,
examples.
absolutely. And just know that your brain is set up to generalize. So
Ooh.
men are, life is, women are, and they don't individualize. So if you get stuck in generalization, then you come across stories like that. All men are pigs, or all men only want to have sex, or all men. Those are generalization. It's a handy principle you have, but you need to know that's what's happening and then go, let me investigate. And what you said about red flags, sure, we need to be aware of red flags, but we also need to be aware of green flags. And we also need to be aware of what I call pink flags. So the pink flags, you notice something that is not something you're looking for or you like, but it's negotiable. You can talk about it and you can find a solution together for your pink flag.
That's wonderful. Okay. So as we're finishing up here, I want to ask something for those that are in relationship that are dealing with maybe triggers that with a partner, they really are feeling connected with their partner, but they're going through the subconscious beliefs and all these, things that are happening through patterns. How can couples work together to, if they're both willing? Of course, I think
Yeah,
the assumption is that they
that's a
both have
big
to be
one.
willing. You can't,
Yeah,
obviously you can't say, okay, you got to fix your patterns, or I'm not going to,
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
out of here. But if you're both willing, and I think people can work on it individually and still be better, but for the sake of this conversation, is if both are willing to work on their patterns, how can they do it in a safe and trusting and loving way that they offer each other suggestions? Or is it like, you do your thing, I'll do mine, and we'll connect back soon? How do they do it?
Best case scenario is that when you establish you love each other, right? You're in a relationship, you love each other. Be very, very gentle with that love. Keep that love out of like tricky conversation. And what I mean by that is affirm you love each other. That love is sacred. It's in a golden box with a beautiful bow on it. We don't touch that because a lot of people go something uncomfortable, something happened that I don't like, therefore I don't love him as much. Or that's the proof that he is not loving me or she is not loving me, right? Leave it alone. The love is the
roller
love.
coaster.
Keep it.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Next to that, when both parties are willing, at a good moment, have a conversation. Don't go having a conversation when there's irritation or you're tired or there's already a conflict. In Germany, they have a proverb that says, repair the roof when it's sunny outside. So get that sunny moment and then go, okay, let's take a look at what's been happening. And there's various ways of languaging that. The languaging is very important. It's never an attack, cannot be an attack. You never question your partner's intent, but it's always, hey, when this and this happened, I interpret it as I feel. And in that way, when both are willing, you can talk about it and put a solution in place together.
That's
So
beautiful.
the trick is not to take it personal, and that is a very tricky one because you're talking to, your partner. So that is like a personal like conversation, but don't take it personal. It's just your partner getting something off their chest that's important to them, or that has been like an intense experience from the past that they triggered into reliving in the present. So be gentle, listen to them, love them through it, and work on solutions together. Ideal situation. A lot of people
I was
that
going to say, can I just interject for just a
yeah,
second? Because I'm thinking that is the ideal situation.
yeah,
And then I'm thinking I've been in relationships where both are really open, like great communication, deep conversations. And we even had like a couples huddle on Sundays or whatever, where you have the meeting and you do that. And that really is effective. Actually, I like
yeah,
that. And I
yeah.
taught that. But is that it's pointing out something that they don't like in you. And so then they go, that thing that you do, I don't really like that. And so I just wanted to let you know. And so how do you deal with that? Because that is, here's what, as we said, the Matthew Hussey things is that whenever there's an argument or something, it's never about what's happening right now. It's about something from the past, 100% of the time.
Exactly.
So if it's coming at you, like you're triggering me in this way.
Yeah.
And I'm like, am I supposed to fix something here? Or am I supposed to say, actually, Matthew Hussey always says 100% of the time, you know what I mean? It's you go fix your stuff. How do you resolve that kind of dance there?
It's very much in the languaging, right? Because even when you hear from your intimate partner, I don't like that about you, it's going, wow, she doesn't like that about me. I'm getting like all kinds of feelings with that. But if you say, you know what, when this and this happen and happens, and it triggers something in me. Don't put a responsibility with your partner, put a responsibility with yourself, and then ask, can you help me? I know it's coming from somewhere, and sometimes we really do know where it's coming from, and it's triggering me. So can we find a solution together for me, and how we deal with that together? So it's like what a lot of people don't know about arguing. Arguments happen in a relationship, they do. But when arguments happen, when you stand opposite of each other, they become a fight. But when you stand together, you find a solution together.
I love that. That is the most beautiful visual. That is the best thing I've heard on that. That is great. Really good. Yeah, because it's two people facing each other versus side by side. And it's help me with this trigger. I'm dealing with this. When this happens, I feel triggered.
Yeah.
And I know it's probably not you, but it's something I'm dealing with. Can you help me walk through this as I figure out how to navigate through this?
And in most cases, not in every case, but not everybody is good, but in most cases, your intimate partner is not your enemy. They're not out there to get you. They're not out there to make you feel heard or sad. They're not. They're on your side. So keep them on your side.
I think that's something that we have to also, and you said once we understand this basis is that we both are in love and we have this sacred connection, the sacred relationship, is that it also has to be this, that is, I think Tony even says it too, is this, I believe that you have my highest, what is it again, my best intentions, you have the best intentions.
Mm-hmm.
And that we're all overall good people and that we mean to do well.
Yeah.
And so that these are triggers, some people have these patterns too, is where they go, no, they crossed me. Their
fault. Yeah.
or they crossed me, but no, they betrayed me. They betrayed me. But these are words that we have from the past. And to us, it might look like it's what we would call betrayal because we link it, as you said, to something where we felt betrayed before, and we called it the word betrayal. And it was the person just didn't call us that night. They called us the next day. Oh, you betrayed me. Is that exactly. Do you see? So it's how the language and understanding how we use the vocabulary, because I wouldn't call it betrayal. It's not that particular action. It was this person was irresponsible or perhaps forgetful or something
happened or whatnot. Absolutely. Right. So the language
all are triggered differently.
Important. We're all triggered differently. And don't hesitate to ask somebody to mediate a conversation if you don't manage to get a good conversation together. What I often do with couples is just translation. I translate. And you speak different languages. I speak multiple languages. And there's a language that people use. The concept that two total strangers come together and magically think that everything will work out. They're two strangers, right? So you have your own language, each of the partners. When you are the mediator, the translator, you can help other people see the different perspectives you bring to the table, the different cultural background, the different experience, a different way of reacting, of talking even. And if you just get to know your partner better, it all gets easier. And sometimes it needs an outside perspective to go, hang on, what is the intent here? What does he really mean? Do you think he intends to hurt you? Oh, no. So then if you know that he is not like hurting you or the intent is not to hurt you, how do you come to the conclusion of saying, I want to break up, this is not good for me? So it's a mirroring effect, but also a translation to what the other brings to the table, how they meant it to be. We're clumsy when it comes to communication, right? We're not the smartest in really saying what needs to be said. So it's translating each other.
Okay. I'd be remiss if I didn't ask the opposite side of this, because this is assuming two people are willing to work on it. What if we have a woman listening and she's thinking, I'm in a relationship, but my partner won't talk about this stuff. He's not gonna,
Okay.
he won't do anything. What would you suggest?
Do you love him?
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you love him? And are you willing to do some work yourself? Because I firmly believe that one person can influence the relationship enough to make a change. There's boundaries. I'm not saying it will work 100%. There's boundaries. There's things that happen in a relationship, they shouldn't happen. And you seriously have to think about leaving that relationship. If that's a red flag, sure. If it's a pink flag, we can work with it. But do you love him enough to do some work yourself? What do you think your partner is afraid of? Why wouldn't he open to having that conversation? He must be afraid of something. And usually it's being afraid that your wife won't respect you anymore in the man's case, right? And doesn't trust you anymore. And there's certain behavior that gives them clues that must be true. So let's work on it. If you really love him, you think it's worth working on it, let's go for it.
That's so good. That's so good. Thank you for that. Is there any other closing words or final thoughts as we wrap up today?
Asked me and I really didn't answer that. How can you make your changes long lasting, right?
Yes, please. That would be
And that is just be present to what's happening. Analyze your day. It just takes a couple of minutes, 3 to 5 minutes. We all have that. And make sure that you put some attention to your changes. Because when you put attention to your changes, you will bring them in the present and they will become alive. And over time, there's a conditioning effect. It usually lasts like maybe 3 to 4 weeks with daily attention to make those changes last. Okay. So even in a relationship, open communication, have the courage to communicate, but communicate in a loving way. Don't question your partner. Take responsibility and find a solution together. If it's worth it, if you love him.
That's really good. And I would add to that, I'm thinking is sometimes, especially in relationships that have been, people have been in relationships for years, there's so much bitterness and resentment. And something in Landmark Forum we learned years ago is this thing about dropping the napkin. Is just at some point, it's what are we fighting about? Just drop it. It's like waving the white flag. And to just, because I think there are times when I see one wants to work on it and the other one doesn't. And the other one just wants to say, yeah, you always do that. Remember, and I have seen this in long, term friends, family members who've been married 40 years or more, and it's just back and forth and they love each other, but it's their dance. It's what they do. And I think that a lot of times we just want more out of a relationship, but we just don't know how. And yeah, we've got to give up the story about, it's always hard because if you say, well, stop blaming, then the other one's still going to blame. And you're going to feel like I'm just getting beat up all the time and I'm not throwing it back. I'm not slinging mud back. How do you deal with that? Where you just all of a sudden just say, okay, is this person going to suddenly be trained not to do that because I stopped throwing mud?
A very human reaction is to either fight, flight, or freeze, right? And none of them are good, right? Because if you fight, and a lot of people are bickering in relationships, so they're fighting, right? They go, no, I'm right. No, I'm right. And then they bicker, and very few people like that. I've come across some couples that thrive in that, fine, but the majority won't. Dropping that napkin and saying, is it really worth fighting over? Most of the stuff is not worth fighting over. It really is not. Right? And that doesn't mean that you're a doormat and you have to be walked all over. No, that's not what I mean. But sometimes it's give up on that attachment. That's his opinion. And that's not my opinion. We agree to disagree. I love you anyway.
That's great.
Yeah. And when you freeze, and it's investigate, what is your first reaction? My first reaction was in the past to fight, stand up for myself, right? I'm like, I'm important as well. It's not only you that's important. And then I usually don't do the flight, but sometimes I freeze. And freezing is like, for me, okay, I cannot talk about this now. Would you be okay if we talk it out tomorrow or the next day or whatever? You set a time frame. So you're not in flight, but the freezing is that you're just not ready to talk. You need to think it over and need to mull about what's my part in this. How do how can I change my part so we avoid conflict? And that's not giving in or giving up. It's just being smart and going, where's two fighting, there's two at fault. So how can I give up my part in the fight? What does that fight give me? And do I really need what it gives me?
Do I really need what it gives me? That is the thing I think we miss. There's that autopilot again, is that we get into the fight and it's just such a pattern that this is the dance we do and we do it without thinking. And
Yeah.
it feels satisfying because it's familiar.
Yeah,
It
it's
feels
very familiar. It
satisfying
gives you
because it's
certainty.
familiar.
Yeah.
Yeah, it gives you certainty how the story is going to end. I get the whole thing. And so we become this whole like autopilot driving. This is what's going to happen. He's going to get upset. She's going to cry. All right, then we make up, and then this is the dance we do. And so to try it a different way, I think is sometimes it's being conscious, like you said. And so I love that about and as we close, this part, and I had to throw this part in about the relationships more, but because I love talking about this too. And I think it really reaches our viewers is just a few minutes a day in the morning and planning your day, like setting it up. How do I want this to look today? What are my goals? What do I want to accomplish? And at the end of the day is connecting back again and saying, how did I do?
Yeah. And it's also knowing yourself and knowing your gender. And gender is not always a woman with a feminine core. We have them in all varieties. But if you come from a feminine core, knowing that you are more of a feeling person, generalization, the masculine core is more of a thinking creature. And sometimes women run very destructive patterns in order to provoke an emotional response, whether that is a good one or not. They are just poking the bear. At least they have an emotional response. And any emotional response is a good one in their eyes, but usually it's a negative emotional response. Knowing yourself, knowing what you're doing, knowing what you want, then really take a look at your strategy and if that strategy is giving you the desired outcome or not.
This is good. This is good. This is this whole reassessment is what do I want in life? Let's just take a step back instead of just letting things, the subconscious just run the same programs.
Yeah.
Thank you, Connie. This was great.
You're welcome. My pleasure.
Yeah, and I would encourage everyone watching, definitely reach out to Connie. She's the best. I love her so much. And I thank you so much for being here, Connie. I learned so much today too.
You too, Jill.
Nice
Thank you very much for having me. I loved it. I love you. And let's meet up in Glendale.
Okay, sounds good. See you soon.
See you soon. Bye.